Hello again, YouTube. This is the Truth Man. The channel is the No Matrix, No Simping, All Subjects channel. And right now we getting into some other subjects. Like we're gonna talk about sports. I just did a short on it. I'm interested to know, especially you who are my age, maybe a little younger, a little older, even if you're a lot younger, like which sports age do you prefer? There's some things that I like more about today's sports age. Yeah, I like watching the Jordan dynasty, rooting against him, even though I always knew he was the best. But I just wanted to see him lose, and he never did. I don't think he ever lost in the finals, man. I felt so bad. I was rooting for Karl Malone and John Stockton. I was watching the game with the push-off. You know, I was rooting. It took for him to retire for them dudes to start getting championships. I be wanting to see people win, and then when they start winning, I'm like, wait a minute. Like right now, I'm practically ready to become a Chiefs fan. Let Rodgers stay and be starting. I'm going to be like, well, maybe I won't watch the Packers this year. That's just, hey, man. Rodgers gave us some great times, man. He did. Very fun to watch. I took a lot of scrutiny when he first came out because I was telling people how good he was. And they were like, no, man, I don't believe you can't replace Favre. But I think his time has passed. He's more a celebrity than a championship caliber quarterback now. Now, of course, Mahomes is too, but it don't seem to be affecting Mahomes. Mahomes like beating people, not shaking his hair. Mahomes don't seem like he care what your religious beliefs are or his players. He don't care. He just want to win and make money. But I'm going to tell y'all in this video what I like more about this current sports world. I'm going to talk a little bit about the sports worlds that I saw as a kid and coming up into manhood. I'm going to tell y'all which one I prefer. So let's begin. And I really want y'all to comment and let me know what y'all prefer. We're going to get back to them women. They give us plenty to talk about. We're going to get back to that other stuff as well. But let's talk about sports on this. Now, I began by saying that I was watching the whole entire Jordan era. Like I had college associates and friends that live in Chicago basically, and they was White Sox fans, Cub fans. So we down there at Jackson State watching the Brewers and the White Sox, Brewers and the Cubs. We watching when the Bulls play the Bucks. The Bucks wasn't good back then. They had some good players, but they wasn't good enough to get them over the top. And them dudes back then, they used to be out there, you know, in the club and stuff. Like that's how they was getting robbed. That's when the Bucks stopped hanging. I believe the team probably came up with something like, look, man, you got to watch where you go. Because those dudes was getting robbed. Like back in the day, the 90s, stuff like that. We had a club called Juniors. I'm seeming like I had a piece of hair on my tongue. Now get your mind out the gutter. I ain't doing nothing. I ain't doing nothing. By choice. All right, no, I got options. I don't want to focus on that right now. But he used to go in this club called Junior. It was right there on Green Bay Avenue, close to where I grew up. Green Bay runs through Hampton, which is the street I basically grew up on. And Juniors, back in those days, Juniors was like more for the clean cut working guys that don't be out here in these streets like that. Now sometimes the street cats was going in there and that's how he got robbed. But like the street cats in the 90s used to be in the bars. Like we was more bars and just roaming around on the streets, going wherever we could to meet them female. Y'all know, if y'all know what I'm talking about, Chris B Info, another YouTuber, he know what I'm talking about. He from Milwaukee. Like you had juniors, and he got robbed in juniors. Another player, Sean Resper, got robbed trying to wash his car. And I know the dude that robbed him. He used to run with my cousin. He was in the pipeline. If y'all know what I'm talking about. But, anyway, moving on. Don't want to give the feds nothing. But, so I grew up with the Iverson era. Like, watching Iverson, man. I even went to a Bucks game when my kids was little. I took my sons, my daughters weren't born yet, went to the Bucks game. And they was playing Iverson. And I think Iverson beat them. Wait, I forgot who won. It was a real good game. It was back in 2000, maybe 2003, 2004 maybe. But we went to the game. Iverson, that's when he was at his peak, when he was with the 76ers. When they cheated, we was in an uproar in Milwaukee. Because Scott Williams was like one of our key role players. And they cheated and made it where he couldn't play. Because Scott Williams, back then when they tried to get past Ray Allen and all them, he was swatted away. And they suspended him for a game. And we ended up losing. And that's when even Phil Jackson and George Karl, who was our coach at the time, was going back and forth because they knew it was going to be the Bucks against the Lakers. Kobe and Ray Allen had the feud going. It was not supposed to be the 76ers. They only won because that thing was Scott Williams. Nothing against Iverson. I love Allen Iverson as a player. And some of the things that I saw with him as a person too. But like they weren't supposed to beat us. And the Lakers throttled them. They barely won, 4-2? They won the first game, and then they won another game, but it wasn't even close after that. If that was us, it would have been showtime. We would have beat them. Big Dog, the big three, we had Tim Thomas, Michael Redd. We would have beat the Lakers back then. We would have won before Giannis. We're going to get to Giannis too. We can't go talk about this without talking about Giannis. But I saw that era. I saw the eras where I always been a Brewers fan. For a while, I rooted for the Braves too. Because like when I used to watch wrestling, the Braves would always suck. And I start wanting them to win. And they end up down the line, they won a pennant. And it felt like I was from Atlanta. I was happy. But I saw that era. Now let's get into the 80s. Wrestling, man, come on, man. Come on, man. Dudes be trying to say wrestling gay now. We wasn't nobody watching 8 balls. We was watching them. The moves, the interviews. The interviews was way better. I saw some of them interviews now. Nothing against them. They all right. Like Roman Reigns and all them. And the damn era with Ron Simmons. But Ron Simmons from my generation of wrestling. Harlem Heat with Butch Reed. But in the 80s, man, my favorite sports era was the 80s. In the early, I would say between 1980, when I was real little, when I first started watching sports, to right around about 1998. Something happened in 98, y'all. Something happened with the music, something happened with the movies, something happened with wrestling, something happened with everything. Like, it was just, I believe that's the year them people start getting a little more aggressive. Them peoples always was around, but they got a little more aggressive, I believe, in 1998. Because that's when it seemed like everything just started changing. Now, what blessed us is that's when Kobe started emerging, LeBron James came. So we was able to make it through that dry period of sports. But now I do like the parody, and I'm going to be all over the place with this, so stay with me. I do like how you just don't know who gonna win the NBA Finals, who gonna win the Major League pennant, who gonna win the Super Bowl. And the commercials now are much better. Like, they kind of got back to those commercials this year. It was some good ones. But my favorite sports genre was, I would say, between 1980 and 1997. Those years, those 17 years of wrestling, baseball, football, basketball. That's when you had Mark Gastineau, the New York Stock Exchange. I was just talking to people like, I just can't understand how he's not in the Hall of Fame. You had Eric Dickerson, Tony Dorsett, Bo Jackson. You had them quarterbacks like Brett Favre came through there. Troy Aikman came through there. Towards the end, you had, and then you had Steve Young. Then going back towards the 80s a little bit more, you had Randall Cunningham towards the end of the 80s. You had all these quarterbacks. You had Jerry Rice. I got to see Walter Payton. Like, even though the Packers were losing, they still was like fun to watch with Lynn Dickey, James Lofton. Glenn Dickey used to just drop back and just try to carve people. But they couldn't stop nobody on defense, so they lost. Now I'm going to keep going. My stop is coming, but I'm going to keep going. Then you had, in wrestling, my favorite wrestler of all time. People be like, oh, he couldn't wrestle. Lex Luger. Lex Luger is my favorite wrestler of all time. His interviews are good. Like, it used to be funny how dramatic he used to get when he get hit. Oh, you know, Lex Luger was my favorite, hands down. But I had several wrestlers that I liked, including the heels, like Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. Come on, man. King Kong Bundy and Andre the Giant, that era, Big Boss Man. Man, them Royal Rumbles used to be on. I liked it and respected Hulk Hogan, but I wanted him to lose. And I believe if Hulk Hogan passes away before I do, that's not gonna be, because that's the childhood right there. Like, we gonna talk about cartoons too, like maybe next week. But to me, the sports era between 80 and 97, or 97, that was the best era. That was the best time in sport. The games were so dramatic. I was watching a game with the Rams versus the Giants when I was younger. And it came down to the last play. The Ram, I think it was Ferragamo. I forgot who that quarterback was. He drops back. Lofts a pass. I think it was Henry Eller just coasted. Caught the touchdown pass, kept running down the tunnel. They put the camera on the tunnel. He was gone. it's over. He went to the locker room. And so I saw games like that. I used to see Phil Simms and Ronnie Lott hated each other. They was trying to set up a fight. Not that I was like wanting to see football. No, and speaking of that, the football and basketball fights in the 80s, oh man, you thought somebody was gonna die. Go watch that Rams. Like, speaking of Mark Gastineau, he had this sack dance. Go watch that Rams game where the Rams played the Jets and Mark Gastineau got a sack. And boy, everybody on them team was fighting. The whole entire teams, even the bench, fighting. They like, because they probably already said, he do that sack dance, we finna whoop his A. And they ain't whooping. If you look at that fight, Mark Gastineau was beating up their whole team, throwing them dudes down one by one. They did not beat up Mark Gastineau. So I came up in that era with Elijah Wan, who another player I started rooting against because he just couldn't, he didn't miss. He'd turn around, hook, swish. Clyde Drexler, one of the greatest shooting guards of all time, could not beat or stop Jordan. He just couldn't. He did a good job on him. He couldn't stop him. Isaiah Thomas, Patrick Ewing, all these dudes was on different teams. Wasn't really no super teams. You either had the dynasty or you didn't. And they beat up on each other too. They beat up on each other. So it wasn't really no super team. Now Barkley, he tried to go to Phoenix and they became a super team, but they lost to Jordan. John Starks, when he was with Ewing, come on now. That was the best era in sports, man. To me. And what do y'all think? Which one do y'all say? Now, let's talk about now. Wait, let me talk about wrestling a little more. Wrestling, we used to watch the girls wrestling, get our kicks, Glow, Pow. That was all during that time in the 80s. Then you had karate was emerging. You had Black Belt Theater late at night, if you could stay up. I used to be up watching, talking like they lips moving because they talking in a different language and they translated it into English. And you could tell the people they was Chinese and they was Asians, but they knew how to speak English, so it made it funny the way they was pronouncing the words. You killed my brother. Now you're gonna, all of that was in this time period I'm telling you about, man. It was the greatest. It was. Wrestling, NWA, which became WCW, but I still watch WWF. Like we had, it became Monday Nitro, and they had those shows. And then WWF had Saturday Night Main Event, which was one of the best shows of wrestling. Even though I was more of a NWA guy, I did like WWF just as much. Then in boxing, we got to talk about boxing. You had Hagler versus Leonard. That feud. I see Errol Spence and Crawford headed the same direction. They're going to fight when both of them is a little past their prime. And it's still going to be one of the best fights ever. Like Hagler and Leonard was. They kept ducking each other. Well, Hagler never ducked nobody. I believe my boy, Sugar Ray Leonard, that's who I used to try to fight like when I was a kid. Not all the showboating, but just like the speed. Sugar Ray Leonard seemed like he going up weight, going down weight. He had a lot going on. And you had Hector Macho Camacho back then. Like it was just every division. Boxing is starting to catch up. But the problem, what I don't like about boxing now, these dudes be scared to lose, so they be ducking. Back then, they ain't duck no action. Larry Holmes fought everybody. Marvin Hagler fought everybody. They tried to say Tyson was ducking. No, he wasn't. During those time periods, Tyson was fighting the top guys. I came up through the Mike Tyson. I remember one night. That night, it was just a bad day for me because my cousin, I don't even know how he got my other grandmother number. That wasn't even his grandmother. He calls my grandmother out. I spent the night over there with my other cousin. He say, hey, you know, Mike Tyson just lost to Buster Douglas. And last night, Lex Luger lost to Sting. Sting beat him in like 8 minutes. Did the Stinger splash on him. Sting, come on now, man. Sting, I used to watch Sting. Sting was good in the UWF days. Dr. Death Steve Williams. These dudes were men. They were brutes. Used to fight in bars. The bars used to hate to see them coming. Like in Chicago. I think it might have been Luger. Bunch of guys. You ain't so tough as you look. Big brawl, the wrestlers against the people. They was dipping them dudes on their heads. Blump. Man, don't you know that was staged, but them dudes was really Rick Rude? Robertson Rick Rude was better than anything out right now. Roddy Piper. Then you had the Midnight Express. I used to like them because they'll fight the good and the bad. They used to fight the Road Warriors when the Road Warriors was heels. The Road Warriors went back and forth. They heels, then they not. Used to love the Road Warriors. Rick Rude, all that, man, all that going on. And it seemed like them wrestlers seemed like they were more buff in the 80s. You got some buff ones now, but they be shaking their booty and stuff like, you know, Now, Rick Rude used to do it too. I ain't gonna be hypocritical. But I like in the 80s, you knew who they was doing it for. They was doing it for the women. Now we really don't know what they doing it for. Let me tell y'all a secret. When I was in Texas, I used to work with she said she was King Parsons' ex-wife. I ain't gonna say like some of the bad stuff, but she told me that he quit wrestling because he said they was too rainbow. Said they was smashing in the locker room. She said, we talking about wrestling. She was telling me everything he was saying. It was the one that was, never mind. That was his ex-wife. So, I watched World Class Championship Wrestling with the Von Erichs. Abdullah the Butcher, come on, man. Wait, dude, I want to hear from y'all who think this current sports world, wrestling, boxing, baseball, football, if you was around with both, I want to hear from you especially why you think it's better today. Like, let's say it's a competition. Michael Jordan, Sting, Lex Luger, Mike Tyson, Larry Holmes, Hagler, Hulk Hogan, Randy Macho Man. I can't not mention him. Like, I felt like that was a family member when he died. That one hit hard. Roddy Piper. Even the movies when Roddy Piper, They Live. I tell you about They Live would show you this Matrix stuff, man. You gotta watch it, man. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Well, we're gonna get into movies next week. But if you think that today's current, we'll just measure it with the older people. We'll measure it from the 70s with Muhammad Ali, because I caught some of that too. The Wide World of Sports used to be on Channel 12. Monday Night Football. Dun, 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 dun. John Madden. Summer Raw. Come on, man. I gotta hear from you. Matter of fact, let's do it this way. Let's go from 1974 to 1997 and 1997 to present. And y'all even get them couple years of Michael Jordan then after 97. We'll give it to the current. The 97 on back, Jordan, that's the sports era. Joe Montana, can't forget to mention, come on, man. I still say that Brady is, by some viewed as the best quarterback. But to me, I gotta say Montana. Because think about it. We don't really remember that many of the defensive players like that on them 49ers teams. I'm trying to think, like, who was on the defenses? What we remember, they had Roger Craig. Some of that time they had Ricky Watters, but that was more Steve Young, but it's still the same era. Then you had Jerry Rice, John Taylor, picking people apart, couldn't stop him. His defense, they were decent, but they wasn't winning because of them. They were winning because of the offense. Now, Patrick Mahomes got a little Joe Montana in him. He don't got no, and what makes Patrick Mahomes special, I give y'all Patrick Mahomes. As Patrick Mahomes won the Super Bowl last year, he ain't had no Jerry Rice type. He did have Kelsey, which Kelsey I would put up there right with Dwight Clark. Kelsey is like one of the best tight ends I ever seen, man. The best, I'm telling you. I'll give him his credit. But which one y'all think, man? Wrestling, we had Sting. You had Honky Tonk Man, Macho Man. You had the Junkyard Dog, Ricky Steamboat, Ricky the Dragon. You had Tito Santana. You had Hillbilly Jim. I saw a lot of these dudes was Nephilim. They big, man. Tall. Ric Flair. Oh, you knew I wasn't going without me. Ric Flair. When Ric Flair, if he passes, that's going to be hard. Because you got to realize people be looking at it. This is my childhood. People be like, you don't know them. Man, I felt like I did. I grew up watching these dudes. I was putting people in the figure 4 leg lock. The torture rack. We'll be wrestling in the neighborhood. I was mixing other wrestlers' moves up. My move was the torture rack. But I would put you in the Boston Crab. I would put you in the figure 4. Like me and one of my good friends, I remember it was funny. And I'm finna close because y'all, I could go on forever. But y'all don't be watching this stuff, man. Y'all messed up by this Matrix stuff. But y'all only want to watch rich people. But anyway. Y'all want to watch rich people. It's cool when they do it. It's a problem when I do it with the long video. These dudes be in 6-hour lives. And y'all be watching. I make a video for 30 minutes y'all can't watch. It's cool when they do it. It's a problem when I do it. Like, what's the name? Finesse 2 times said. But I used to put people. So let me get back to the story and close. So one of my friends, we in gym, we talking about wrestling and stuff. And he talking about he could make me submit with his finishing move. I said, I can make you submit with mine. He said, all right. He said, I'm gonna let you put me in the Boston Crab. You gotta let me put you in the figure 4. I said, bet. He said, but when I quit, when I give up, you gotta let me go right away. I said, man, that's fine, man, that's cool. So I went first. I turned him around, put him in the Boston Crab. He said, all right, I quit. I let him right go. He put me in the figure 4. I said, I quit. He's steady like this. Man, I'm screaming like, oh. He would not let me go. I said, man, you play too much, man. That was my guy, though, so I didn't get mad or nothing like that. If that was somebody else, I used to have a lot of fights in that gym period. That was middle school. Edison. But anyway, which one y'all think? Me personally, I like the sports world today because I like the parody, the commercials, different things. I do like it, but I liked it better coming up. Man, we used to go to school, elementary school, be half killing each other. Oh, don't let it snow. Don't let it snow. We was playing football. Sure, man. But I liked it better from 80 to 97, or from, we said 70s to 97, than I do 97 to present. It was a whole lot of fun, man. We're going to get into the movies and the cartoons, too. But this is the truth, man. The channel is the No Matrix, No Simping, all subjects channel, all subjects. We're going to talk about sports. We talk about music. We're going to talk about cartoon. We're going to get into music and cartoon, and we're going to compare the eras. Y'all already know. Y'all already know. Music, some of it, but most of it, we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that next week. But make sure y'all watch this video, man. Especially y'all who be watching them long-winded lives. Like I say, how is it a problem when I do it? But it's cool when they do it. But anyway, we will see y'all tomorrow with Sunday sermon. So stay tuned.